Hey, hey, hey.
What's up?
What's up?
Cover to cover.
Let's do it.
Cream. Disraeli gears. Last episode I said I made the statement about this album meaning a lot to me. It's not necessarily just this album, it's Cream in general means a lot to me because of the background. So it's really cool that we get to do this one. So I'm excited.
I hope we all liked it. I hope you're lucky tonight. And we got a special guest.
We do. We got a special guest tonight. Every show we do, he's usually sitting on the floor next to me listening to the show. I said, man, come on, man.
Yeah, of course. Come on.
He's been listening to the album and stuff with me. So I said, man, come on, let's get your 2 cents in it too.
I can't wait to hear your 2 cents. Can't wait.
But yeah, every show that I've been on so far, he's been right down there by my feet, sitting on the floor, listening to the show.
Good. Good. Hope he's learning some fundamental stuff.
Not from me. Not from me.
All right. This album was Cream's second album, and it was released in November of '67. So it was kind of a late to the party album for the summer of '67. But it screams 1967.
That it does, man.
It's several reasons that it is put in there with those other bands like Love and Jefferson Airplane and Sgt. Pepper and all those. And there's a common thread, I believe, through a lot of those albums connecting this one. So it was recorded in May of that same year at Atlantic. Now, it's my understanding that was the first time that Clapton, I'm not exactly sure about Jack Bruce or Ginger Baker, but that was the first time that Eric Clapton had recorded in the U.S. So he was somewhat timid and apprehensive. He wasn't sure what to expect. I guess it was a little daunting to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a weird sentiment coming out of someone who is considered a guitar god. Mm-hmm. But I've heard that he especially when he was younger, he was very shy or modest.
Mm-hmm. Timid.
It was produced by Felix Pappalardi, who went on to be in the band Mountain with Leslie West. Great, heavy American band. If you've ever heard the song Mississippi Queen, that's Mountain, and that's Felix's bass on that song. He didn't produce many albums, but this is one of the stellar albums that he did produce. I don't know. I guess for a little background behind the band, it's often billed as the very first supergroup, because all three members, Ginger Baker, had been in the jazz circuit for several years. Bands like Alexis Corner and Graham Bond, and Jack Bruce as well. Floating around in jazz and blues groups. He and Baker have a history being in Graham Bond together. And he was also in Blues Breakers right around the same time that Clapton was with John Mayall. So they're all kind of experienced musicians. They've all kind of made their mark, gotten their notoriety out there. So in my impression, it's they are the first supergroup. Not just the first supergroup, but a lot of the things that they were doing was 100% new. What's up, 90? You're freaking right, buddy.
Now, real quick, I don't want to jump ahead on conversation.
No, go right ahead.
Speaking of Ginger Baker, he is an amazing drummer, jazz drummer. My only complaint is the drums on this recording were weak, man. It's like, I mean, I don't know if it has to do with the 3 days they recorded it in, but his drums sound like he was sitting in the back of the room and the mic was up with the rest of everybody else. You know, it's like you can barely hear. It's kind of, you know, bled out. And I thought, you know, that was the first thing I noticed. Like, man, that sounds like those drums are in the back of the room. So that's my only complaint as far as the sound of this album. But like I said, I don't know if that has to do with them recording it in a quick 3 days. But I think what could have it been if, I mean, I guess I can't really say that because it's obviously a great album, but them drums should have been mic'd a little better than what they were.
There's various reasons for that, and I think part of it had to do with the way they were producing it. Some of the techniques they were using were, at the time, were new.
Yeah.
Other reasons were kind of one of the reasons that him and Jack Bruce didn't get along. Jack Bruce always wanted to blast everything up, especially with the Marshall stacks, and Baker constantly had to compete with that higher tone, higher volume in the amps and stuff. So that may have had something to do with that. I don't know that I can't. I don't know if I disagree with you, but I guess I hear it different. Maybe I hear it different. I don't know.
It still works. Don't get me wrong, because the first time I listened to this album, I listened to the mono version.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a big difference by itself too. But yeah, that's really the only thing right off the bat that I noticed. You know, quality of recording wise, it sounded like Ginger was drowned it out on quite a few of the songs.
It didn't have the 2 years of production that Whitesnake put into it. That's basically the difference, right?
Right. I mean, like I said, I understand 3 days, man. That's an achievement by itself.
Oh, definitely.
Recording an album in 3 days.
And then the crazy thing about that is the day they finish recording is the day their freaking visas expire.
No way.
So they finish and they gotta hit the road, but meanwhile they're gonna come back and tour, like basically tour to support the record when it comes out.
That's crazy.
You know, just a month or a couple months later. But yeah, I'm going to say that probably did have something to do with it, but
because they were, to me, it seemed like they what I took from it is they were rushed because they had a 3-day period. No more, no less. Let's do what we can. Let's get it recorded, and then we got to go. Yeah. No time for just like George Martin style and get everything tweaked just right.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of that had to do with Ahmet Erkin, because he was a businessman and he was, you know, let's get it done, get it out. But those 3 days, I guess that was more chance to play it tighter, I guess. I don't know. That is true. Baker had he was stubborn. He was stubborn and he was very wild. But when he was behind a kit, look out.
Little Bo.
Yeah.
Does this feel like it came out of the 60s when you hear it? You could feel it, right?
Most of the songs fit the album cover perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I made the family listen to it today while we were running some errands.
Uh-huh.
And there was like one of the songs, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. If I see the track listing, I would remember. Right. But I told my wife, I'm like, doesn't this sound like this would be in like Pulp Fiction? She's like, this sounds like I need to have a lava lamp and this and that.
Totally, right?
Yeah, man. So great album though, man. It
is.
It took, I listened to it one time on the way to work. And I'm like, yeah, it's all right. But then on the way home, it's like, okay. And then I heard it again this morning, and then I heard it again before we went on. It's like, and I told him, I'm like, dude, the more you listen to this album, every time it gets better and better.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Because there was songs from the first time that I listened to. I'm like, nah, I'm not really a big fan of that song.
Right.
And then second, third, fourth time, it's like, yeah, this is all right.
I'm gonna tell you, the last two albums, I heard them once. Whitesnake, I heard it. I'll say I heard half of it. This album, I heard it. Bro, we only had a week, and I heard it about 4 or 5 times. 4 or 5 times.
So what did you get from it? The same thing? Did it sound better every time you listened to it?
I had heard this. I think I actually own this on CD. I hadn't heard it in probably, man, maybe 10 years, maybe longer.
Now, when you say CD, you mean 8-track, right?
Shut up. No, actually,
I'm just messing.
This was one of those Columbia albums that I got from Columbia.
Okay. 10 CDs for a penny.
Yes. And
good pick.
You know, what?
Good pick.
Yes, good pick. And you know what surprises me about this album? Dude, it's very danceable. You could I caught myself moving to it. I felt like those old go-go girls that were up and you could just see them doing like most albums, you don't think of them as rock albums as danceable. You know, headbanging, but this wasn't headbanging. You could freaking dance to this album. And that's what caught me by surprise. It's like, dude, these are all freaking really good beats, man. And that's what I didn't remember of it. And it's like, dude, you could be in a club dancing to this, man. I really enjoyed it. I didn't like the thing I got about this album. I love the music. I have other issues with it, but the music, I'm good. I don't got no complaints.
Same here. Same here. It was. I looked at it more as a roller coaster.
Yes.
You know, you had some good rock stuff.
Yeah.
And the songs that were more bluesy were like on point.
Yeah.
And then you had those little slower songs that kind of like gave you a break from the rock and the blues and stuff like that, and then right back into it. You know, you went back into the psychedelic and the blues and the. So it was, to me, it was like one of these numbers. It was up and down.
Yeah.
It was great though, man. It was perfect.
That's a good point, Chad. Yeah, dynamic is kind of a different.
Yeah, dude, look, dance the night away. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this album, it's definitely a reflection of the time in which it was recorded and released, because like you said, Jim, it's a roller coaster, because it's got that correct mixture of everything that was going on in the late 60s, because you had the blues coming out, which was their background, and the jazziness, everything that was in their background as a trio, that collision course that they were on. And then you had what became the explosion of the psychedelic era with you know, songs like Blue Condition or We're Going Wrong, or Tales of Brave Ulysses. And I love that song. Just like Jack Bruce, I'm a sucker for wah-wah. I love the wah-wah pedal. And this is where kind of Felix Pappalardi was a little instrumental. He took, I like that in that documentary, he took Eric to a local music shop, and the guy there had he's like, here, I got this little thing here. It kind of gives you a funky wah sound. And Eric didn't even skip a beat. He's like, oh, I'll take it. So Felix was kind of fundamental in the sound of that song. But I also like the fact that Martin Sharp, who did the cover, is the guy that wrote the words that became the lyrics for that song.
Did you find out anything about the album cover?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was quite a bit actually on the album cover.
Yeah, that Martin Sharp is an Australian artist, and he's the guy that did the cover. And he is kind of synonymous throughout the industry, particularly back then. He had worked on I'm trying to find. I can't find it now.
I'm on it. I mean, what are you looking for? About him making it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it pretty much said that he got a hold of some publicity shot and cut it up and did some other cutouts of various books, laid pieces out, stuck them together as a collage on a 12-inch square. He did some drawing outlines, then painted over it with fluorescent inks and paints. And basically wanted to capture the warm electric sound of their music and the colors and expression of the cover. And boy, did he sure do that.
Yeah, he accomplished that.
I mean, to me, that's when you think of psychedelic, that's what you think of.
Yeah. He nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's pretty much the gist of him doing the album cover.
Yeah, and the guy that did those photos, he was seemed a little annoyed that he cut, because especially back then, the prints were expensive, and there's Martin Sharp cutting them up to do this collage. I'll share this. But he said he wanted to capture the band, definitely, the way he did, with, you know, the three of them. Jack, who essentially is kind of does most of the writing and the vocals, even though Eric gets pushed in, he kind of gets prodded into more singing, because prior to this he was just a guitarist. Of course, now we know that, especially as a long solo career, he has, you know, developed a singing voice. But Martin said that he wanted to use the fluorescence, like you said, Jim, to capture that warm electric, but he said nobody else was doing it, and he said he was thrilled that they liked it.
Dude, it's like a blacklight poster, right?
Right.
It's totally what it is. It's a blacklight poster.
I remember the first time I saw it in my early 20s, I was like, what in the great God is this? Have I just tripped?
It is. You nailed it. You nailed it. The freaking blacklight poster.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot to look at in that picture. You know, I sat and looked at it for quite a while, and like, you see something different every time.
Now, I don't know. I grabbed I think it's an inside cover, but I'm not positive. I need to bring it up as well. But it's like all various, you know, all the other various pictures that he got a hold of. Different. I mean, this one over here, freaking, I'm pretty sure that's Ginger. It almost looks like he's passed out.
See, I really like album covers like this because, you know, when I was younger, you go buy a new album, and when you put it on, and while you're listening to it, you're just looking at the album front and back. Now, this album right here would keep you busy for a while you listen.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there ain't nothing worse than getting an album.
I used to always
playing and you ain't nothing to look at, so you put it on and you're just listening and looking at a plain colored album.
That's where liner notes come in handy.
Yeah. And sometimes those are even no lyrics, no nothing, just
boom, 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 boom.
Now, I remember an interview that they had done with them. I think it's on this thing here, but I didn't get a chance to get back to it this week. I was hoping to. There was a story or statement in connection with Sunshine of Your Love, where when Jack originally brought the notes to them, it was in double time, so it was a lot faster, like bum, 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 bum. And supposedly Ginger said, Jack, slow down. And that's when he brought in the drums and into it, and it just fell into place. But I want to bring up Tom Dowd, who was the engineer on the album, and he was very instrumental in the sound of it. So there might have been some things that he was hearing as well for different placements of volume and miking and the use of the dynamic that Chad was talking about. Because he was a very experienced engineer, and he went on to produce quite a few other albums, namely with Clapton. He worked a lot with Clapton. But I believe when there were certain things that he said, do this, and then you do this and make this, kind of a orchestrating so that he could get the right sequence or whatever with it. And Ginger had said that he, between Felix and Tom, they were very great to work with, very professional, and how they were bringing the album to life. Did you guys see the story about We're Going Wrong? It was Jack Bruce had an argument with his wife, and he left their flat, and or their apartment or their hotel room or something. But
yeah, I saw that.
They went to record or something, and the words popped into his head. That's why it's, I found out today we're going wrong, and that song, it's I think it stands out. It definitely stands out on that record because it's different than everything else. Mm-hmm. But to me, this is where my disagreement with Ginger's drums. I think the drums that were laid out on that track are the finest drums to ever be put to record, in my opinion, among top 5. Just you had Jack's vocals on it, and the soaring vocals, the way he sung it, and Clapton just crunching away on the strings. But Ginger's drums were the driving force of that song, and I love the drums on that song. That's one of the reasons I'm a huge fan of Ginger Baker.
When was the first time you heard this album, Dowdy?
My introduction to Cream was probably junior, senior year of high school. I didn't hear this album until probably 2002.
Okay.
But before that, I had listened to, I had picked up the remember the 20th Century Masters collection. Yeah. I picked that up.
The CDs that used to come out. Yeah.
And that prompted me to seek out the rest of their albums. And I can't remember where I picked it up. Must have been at an FYE or something. But that's when I was like, I picked the album up and I was like, what is this? Because that was the first time I'd ever seen the cover. I was like, oh my God.
Get this,
Wheels of Fire. What's that?
Say, I got to get this, and I got to stop and pick up some rolling papers.
So when you heard it that first time, you picked up on those drums in that song? The first time it hit you?
Not the first time, but when I listened to it in sequence, and it definitely dawned on me. The slower songs like this one, I don't know if it's because I'm older now, but I picked all that stuff out differently. And especially listening to that one this week, I'm like, I think this is my favorite song on the album.
Cool. You just
because.
Just because?
Oh, just because of the
drums,
the
well, everything. Clapton's playing in it.
You just brought up a great point. Listening to this music when you're young and then when you're older is two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up. When you're young, it's all about the rockers, you know? And as you get older, it's like you start listening to the slower songs, and it's like, it happened to me yesterday.
You listen to the details.
You listen to the details. When you're young, you're just thinking about, oh, damn, this song rocks.
Oh yeah. When I was younger, it was Tales of Brave Ulysses and Swallower.
Dude, it's something I've noticed with me too. Led Zeppelin, I listened to it different than when I did when I was young. And yesterday I heard Unruly we were in, oh my God, whose show were we on? Oh, and I think we were watching You with Puff. And we were talking about the White Album in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
I put on the White Album after that. And my God. And I've listened to it. It's one of my favorite Beatles albums. But for some reason, and I've heard this song a million times, while my guitar gently weeps.
Yes.
And all I did was I was just listening to the guitar.
Yeah.
I've heard this song, George Harrison on, and for some reason yesterday I just listened to the guitar and I was like, my God.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
It blew my mind when I'm just focusing on the guitar, and it was like, the song ended and it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was like, dude.
The guitar whines and cries in that.
Oh my God. I don't want to talk about a different album, but but it's to your point. You just listen to it different when you get, you're listening for different things. This is what I guess the point I'm trying to make.
Well, I think to that point, especially with the drums, I used to listen to, it was always the guitar or it was the bass.
Yeah.
But it was a friend of mine who said, just look, because he was a drummer, and he said, just try to focus on the individual instruments. And he said, listen for the subtleties, like the hi-hats.
Yeah.
The whispers of the hi-hats and stuff like that. So after he said that, I started listening
to drums,
to the other instruments a little more. Every time I listened to an album or a song, I would pick an instrument and listen to it.
Yeah. I think it's the way to go, right?
It's a different approach altogether to listening to music. You taking notes? You taking notes?
It's great. I'm telling you, I've done it before, but it's not like yesterday was the first time I've done that, but on that song, it was the first time I've done that, and it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
It was so good. You guys, I want to get to what don't you like about this album? Because I have a couple. I have two, and it's not deal breakers. This album's freaking amazing.
Yes, I'm the same way.
Yes.
Me, the only thing that I would say is there was towards like the second half of the album, there was just a lot of consistency of just like it all sounded the same kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Definitely, I know it's of the times, mm-hmm. but for me, it was just like too much psychedelic. You know, I really love the blues songs. I probably love those the most. So to me, that was my complaint. As far as it was just a little heavy on the old psychedelic. Maybe too much wah-wah pedal. I don't know.
I do agree on this. On the second half, kind of bled together.
That's really it. I mean, other than that, but like I said, I haven't listened to that album, but maybe 3.5, 4 times maybe already.
Right.
And each time I listen to it, it gets better and better every time. So with that being said, I'll just leave it at that because I can listen to it one more time and it might be fine, you know?
It gets better every time you hear it. You hear different things every time you hear
it. It's definitely a product, like we said before, it's a product of its time.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's really psychedelic. Just like the album cover. That album cover captures this album in a little glass jar.
It's like a time capsule.
It is.
Yeah, definitely. The issues that I have, and I just think the lyrics on a couple of songs. I don't know all the names of the songs, but the oh my God, there's a tree. I think it's the third song.
Oh yeah, I actually like that song.
I like the song. I'm not crazy about the lyrics.
World of Pain.
Yeah. I'm not crazy about the lyrics.
It is weird. There is some weird lyrics in this album. That I ain't gonna disagree with you one bit on that. There is weird stuff going on.
Yeah. It just seems like I don't want to. It just seems like it's simple writing. I don't know if there's a tree and it's what.
It's just like the last song where they're all kind of just singing like an old Cockney.
Yeah. I love that song.
That song's grown on me. When I first heard it,
I heard someone refer to it as like the first death metal song where it's talking about babies going down drains and this and that and dying and
watching a baby one day.
Yeah, for me, it's some of the lyrics, and then I just feel like the singing. He tries to hit these notes, and he just can't, you know. And I don't think the singing is the best. The voice, I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Well, as far as the singing goes, I would say the one song that I really like too, that the singing was not there, was Blue Condition. That was the 5th song on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the slow one. That was kind of like the album started high, then it was starting to go down, and that was kind of like the let me throw you something different, and then after that it's back up again.
You know who's singing on that song?
No.
Ginger Baker.
Was that Ginger? That's what I thought,
Ginger.
because he wasn't a singer, and it was like he wasn't in tune or anything like that.
Nope, that's one of his.
Yeah, but other than that, the music itself, I dug it, man. Like I said before, I was dancing. I felt like moving. When I hear it, it's just like, and doing the crazy whatever they used to do in the 60s.
Yeah.
just feeling it, and all those old videos. You're watching Woodstock, and you're just feeling it, right? It doesn't matter what it looks like. You're just freaking feeling it, and it's awesome. And I that's the part that stuck out the most, man. It's like, dude, you could really freaking just dance to this. Dance. And it's like, shit. Never.
Now you want to dance when you hear this album. Me, it's a chill out album. It's kind of like chill, you just sit down because of the blues and stuff like that. And some of the slower songs. Yeah, you got some of the heavier ones, but even those are kind of like.
But the thing is, I don't want to dance crazy. It's just like I just want to, just feel it. Yeah, I just want to feel it. I'm not going hey, but it's just like dun, dun,
I can get behind
dun,
that.
dun, 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 dun.
I can get behind that for sure.
That's what I get, man. I really, that's the part I'm most surprised of. It's like, God, I forgot how, I never remember, I never noticed, but it makes me want to kind of move. It's crazy.
See, for me, it was sit down in a dark room with a beer in your hand and just close your eyes and just let the music take you away.
I can see that too, though.
A little Steppenwolf reference there.
I can see that too.
There was a few things that I had read when they were recording and touring. In regards to Hendrix, how he was coming in on the scene and he actually sat in with them. I can't remember what song it was, but he sat in with it, and I'm thinking, wow, how crazy is that? You had this band that was a supergroup that was billed as the first supergroup, and you had a guy that was coming on the scene that was getting ready to blow the doors off of everything with what he was about to do, both in the studio and on the stage. And he sets in with them on a song, and it's like, wow, what a time to have been alive.
No doubt.
Dude,
and this was when they were still in England, correct? When they were like 65, 66 or whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they were bigger in England before they came over here.
Right.
And I know Hendrix had a lot of experience over in England before he made his break over here. So I didn't know if that was with them, basically.
Hey, let me ask you guys this. Flower power, all that stuff going on in the 60s, right? In the States. I wish I would have been in England during that time instead of being in the States. To me, it seems like England was the freaking place to be. That's just me. To me, it's like, dude, it's like everything that was coming out of England was freaking
fire, yeah.
Fire, man.
Yeah, I mean, especially the blues scene and the bands like the Yardbird. I mean, the Yardbirds being the springboard for a lot of other bands. I mean, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was a super group right there.
That's
right?
A super group, bro.
Well, yeah, because it led to their notoriety. Right. It was where they, and there it is. Hendrix attended a performance of the newly formed Cream at Central London Polytechnic in October of '66, during which he sat in on a double-time version of Killing Floor. Then it said about how they people like Pete Townsend and members of the Rolling Stone and the Beatles avidly attended Hendrix's early club performances. There was early points in his career, I believe it was before he recorded the first album, that he covered Sunshine of Your Love, and it was a Beatles song. I can't remember what Beatles song it was, but he he went and he learned the song the next day after it was released and played it that night.
That's nuts, bro.
Right? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that was going on in the 60s. And there was none of this, you know, music videos or YouTube or crap like that. I mean, these guys were out there working their fingers to the bone, literally.
They were in the scene, deep in the scene, you know.
Another thing I wanted to bring up is they talked about Albert King and the influence that Albert King had on, particularly Clapton. The very first track of the album, Strange Brew, he inserted a Albert King solo into it. I mean, kind of what better way to reflect their roots and influences than by inserting a solo by another artist into a song, you know, like a silent nod.
Yeah, right.
And they had said about it throughout other songs like Tales of Brave Ulysses, the riff without the wah wah is Summer in the City by the Lovin' Spoonful. He said it's basically, it's not that riff, but it's emulates it. So it's like they weren't just reflecting the times, they were reflecting the outside influences of other bands.
How big of a hit was this album?
In the United States, number 4 in the United States.
Okay. So it was big.
Yeah. And I think Sunshine of Your Love got to what, number 5 maybe? See if it says.
Number
5. Yep.
And
I remember, and I think I want to say like number 3 or something of that same year when they were number 5. I think Light My Fire from the Doors was number 3.
Yeah.
Or somewhere in the top 5.
Yeah, there was 2 Doors songs that were immediately ahead of it. Light My Fire and Break On Through.
Wow.
And you know, that album,
we should do that album.
That album had been around for most of the year too, so that's kind of a feat for a song to come right up on the back of something that had been out for almost a year.
Little Bo.
Yeah.
How many of your friends are listening to what you're listening to? That's what I thought.
It's time for you to be an influencer.
Just you guys.
They don't know what they're missing, right?
I make sure he gets all the good knowledge that I can give him.
I did the same with my kids, man. I did the same with my kids.
Because, man, music now, it's like crap, man.
We sound so old again.
I tried with my kids and it didn't work out.
It worked with definitely 2 of my kids. The other ones, but he still has a good taste.
We were at Walmart today and I picked up a record. I don't know the dude's name. And I pulled it up and I showed my wife and everybody. I said, "This is what country music's become. This is country music now." I'm talking metrosexual pretty boy with all edged up, you know, and it almost looks like he's wearing mascara. I mean,
It's the hair. The hair bands are now in country.
yeah,
It's basically what it is.
It's glam country.
Yeah, it's glam country. There you go.
with the rhinestone cowboys.
Those aren't rhinestones. That's bedazzle.
Bedazzled country. This is a great album, guys. It is. It's a freaking all-timer.
I agree.
You can see the difference. You can see that. And I'm going back to Wonderful White Snake from last week. You know, you could see one is timeless and one is this one it was Heart and Soul, 3 days. The other one, it took 2 years, overproduced. They tried to make it perfect, and sometimes that's the wrong way to go, man. This is an all-timer. It just is. It captured a moment.
I agree with you, and at the same time, think about it like this. It's funny because Cream and their album, it is set in the time.
Yes.
Just like Whitesnake, it is set in the time.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
And Whitesnake is there ain't nothing that album has that is memorable except for a couple songs. Then the Cream, it's like, even though it's in the time, it's still a great album that you can listen to anytime.
Anytime. Right.
Any decade.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Yeah, I don't want to go on a different tangent, but yeah, you nailed it.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is you got two albums in two separate times of their time. Just one lives up better than the other, I think.
Glam rock has not really aged well.
Yeah, glam rock, like he said, glam rock just don't age too well.
Ages like cheese.
Yes.
Milk.
And funnily enough, this album was probably one of David Coverdale's influences. He probably picked it up. He probably picked it up off the shelf, bought it off the shelf.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, the album cover, everything is perfect.
But in his defense, you know, and when times are constantly changing, you know, and if you're like now, if you want to make it, you got to keep up with the times.
Right.
Of course.
That was his 7th album.
I mean,
the other albums were very bluesy, and
yeah, and in a sense, back then they were kind of living in the times, but it was new.
Right.
Everything was fresh.
But you know what? Like what you just brought up, it was his 7th album, but you know what? It accomplished what it was supposed to do. It made him who he is, because nobody would have remembered him if he never would have made that.
Right.
Nobody would have gone, oh yeah, the first 6, Whitesnake. Yeah, nobody would bring up Whitesnake if it wasn't for that album, good, bad, or whatever. It accomplished. He accomplished what he set out to do.
Yeah.
You know, it worked.
And that the same thing can be said about this album and the unit of Cream.
Yeah.
They set out. They did what they set out to do. Now, amongst the kind of the infighting, the band only lasted a little over 2 years.
Right.
So, but they achieved what they set out to do.
They caught fire. They caught
right.
Fire. Yeah.
Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, lightning in a bottle. There you go.
Right. And Ginger even said that. He said it exploded.
Yeah.
You know, they went fast and hard, and interestingly enough about that too is the band was Ginger's idea.
Now I'm not sure because I didn't get a chance to like dive deep into their history, but They didn't last too long, did they?
No, it was just over 2 years.
Wow.
And then Clapton went to do his own thing and all that
Yep.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't long because he did the Blind Faith thing with Steve Winwood, and then he moved into the Derek and the Dominoes, and then his solo stuff. He seemed I saw a couple other things that he was involved in between. There was something called Powerhouse that he was in with some other people as well. Steve Winwood being one of them. And I was like, Jesus Christ, he was constantly in motion.
Not to mention the fact that he came down and swooped out George Harrison's wife while doing all that. Stealing wives.
Layla.
Crazy. Seems like they were all intertwined, all those bands, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They were all hanging. What a scene.
Yeah.
Let's do it. What are we listening to next?
Where is it?
Real quick though, Hialeah, what's your favorite song on the album?
Sunshine.
Sunshine.
I think it's fucking one of those 60s songs, you know?
It's good. It's that I agree. I agree. And like I said, the more I listened to it, the more I found I had favorite songs.
Strange Brew was really, really good.
Strange Brew.
I love that song.
Dude, I was singing that. I was doing some laundry earlier singing that one. It's tough, man. Like, I don't know. Right, the first time I listened to the album, and the first song that really caught my ear was Blue Condition. So I'm gonna go with Blue Condition.
I don't know.
Or World of Pain, the old slow ones.
Yeah, World of Pain's really
The
good.
the tree song.
Yeah.
There's a tree
Yeah, my
in window.
Jim, you mentioned last week about White Room. White Room is on the follow-up album to this, Wheels of Fire. And there's a song on there called Pressed Rat and Warthog, which is a Ginger Baker song. You definitely like that one, so definitely check that one out.
What's the name of the song?
Pressed Rat and Warthog. Now, they had never performed it, to my knowledge, they'd never performed it live until they did the reunion in 2005.
Wow.
And when I watched that, he's singing it, but he's drumming, and it was surreal because his head looked like it was not attached to his body while he was. It was freaking weird, but I loved it.
Damn, I want to go look at that now.
Yeah. I guess I want to share this, right?
Do it.
All right. Well, here we go.
Did you take it off?
Big money, no whammies, no
Yes,
whammies.
I did.
And stop. Joshua Tree. You too, huh?
All right.
Oh, I feel a sigh from Bo or coming already. I cannot wait to hear what you got to say about the Joshua Tree. Or you two.
I won't say nothing until showtime.
I think, let me see.
I'll leave it at that.
This might be the first. Well, it might be. It might not be. I think this is the. I went to. I saw the Joshua Tree in concert. I saw them in concert for this. Very.
Yeah, they came to my hometown, I think, during that tour, but I was too young to know any better.
Was it? It was either 80. Was it 86 or 88? I went to this concert. We'll talk about it soon.
Well, perhaps not that soon.
Not that soon. I can't wait. I know Bo's a big U2 fan. I can just feel it. You know who else is a big U2 fan? 90 is a big U2 fan.
Him too.
Oh,
we're gonna amaze you guys.
We're gonna clash next time. I feel it. It's gonna be a big clash.
All right. So the next album we're doing is U2's Joshua Tree. After the new year, after the holidays. It's looking like, oh, where'd my calendar go? It's looking like the 8th of January.
Sounds good.
This is birthday.
We'll throw that out tentatively.
What?
Look at
That's
that.
the king's birthday.
I didn't even think of that. I never even thought of that. That's crazy. Anyway, so tonight was Cream's Disraeli Gears. Go check it out. Great album. If not for a rock music education, just give it a listen.
Worth your time.
What do you got to lose?
Yeah, it's only 33 minutes you got to
right.
I noticed that too. Short.
Yeah.
They had to be back then, to fit on a
radio.
Vinyl.
Yeah, and FM wasn't around yet. Not 1967.
In hopes to get on the radio, they tried to keep it around 2 minutes a song.
Right. So, as always, I want to thank you guys for a fantastic show. These discussions, it's
fun.
So cathartic for me.
Fun.
Very, very fun. Always I want to thank everybody who popped in the chat. Unruly, Miss So, 90, YouTube.
Puff.
And I think Puff, I was going to say Puff was in there. So stay tuned for, it's going to be a month. So in the meantime, have a wonderful Christmas, a fantastic New Year. Let's go into the New Year strong and get out there and listen to some music.
Amen.
This album, particularly. Educate yourself.